welcome back to my channel. Today we are going through the 26 books that I have on my January TBR. We're going to go in completely random order. The first book that I have is What Happened After Midnight. I'm really excited for this book. This is the same author as The Summer of Broken Rules, and I see that book all over TikTok, and I've never seen this book ever, but it's the same author, so I feel like it's going to be a good book too. I honestly don't know anything about this book, but I just decided to grab it because, again, I really liked her other books, so I think it'll be good. Wildfire by Hannah Grace is a book that I've put off for a few months now. I was really excited when it came out, but then I just never pick it up because Icebreaker, the other book by Hannah Grace, I honestly didn't love. I gave it 3 stars. It was okay, but it was nothing standout to me. Even a lot of people love that book, so I've heard that this is potentially better than Icebreaker, so I feel like I need to give Hannah Grace at least one more chance and give this a shot, so we'll see. I think I'm going to try to do this one in January. Tiny Dancer is a graphic novel, and I'm so excited for this. I've been loving graphic novels so much lately. I just picked up my first graphic novel halfway through 2023, and since then I've been reading at least a couple every single month, so this is going to be my first one of the year, and it looks so adorable, so I cannot wait to read this. This is about a girl who has dreamed all of her life and worked all of her life to become a professional ballerina, and she ends up with an injury that kind of derails her entire life course. It looks so cute. It completely matches my shirt, which is adorable. I think this is going to be so good. I'm choosing to go into this book blind, but I will be buddy reading The Girls in the Garden with my friend V, and I'm so excited for this. I have yet to ever read a Lisa Jewell book that I haven't absolutely loved. I think the lowest I've ever rated one of her books was 4.25 stars or 4.5 stars, so I know I'm going to love this. This is one that I feel is underrated, I never hear anyone talk about, so I'm very intrigued by it, and I hope it's really good. I got an arc of this book called The Year of the Locust. You might know this author from his really famous book, I Am Pilgrim. He wrote this book 10 years ago, I Am Pilgrim, and then didn't write anything until this book, which is 10 years in the making. It's supposed to be so incredible. It comes out in February. This book is huge. This is an 800-page thriller spy book, and that's a new genre for me, or new subgenre. I've never read a spy thriller, so I'm really intimidated. I actually have started this at the time of recording. I'm 80 pages in, and honestly, I'm hooked so far, so I have high hopes. I hope this is as good as I'm hearing it is. I'm really excited to be jumping back into the Mistborn series. I read the first book in the second era of Mistborn at the beginning of December, and then I decided to put a pause and read a bunch of winter thrillers and Christmassy romance books in December, and so I told myself in January I'd pick it back up, so I am going to read Shadows of Self this month, and then I'm planning to just read this month and then pick up book 3 in February, so I'm going to do a month at a time situation, but I can't wait to read this because the first book in Era 2 was immaculate, so I know this is going to be so good, and I can't wait to get more Wax and Wane scenes. I feel I have not got enough of them yet. Next up is When She Returned by Lucinda Berry. I hosted a book retreat in September, and the girls of the book retreat, it's so adorable. They made their own book club, and so this is the first book that we're reading in that book club. We read, actually, that's kind of a lie, because we read one other book pretty soon after we got back, and we didn't really like it. None of us liked the book, but then we didn't read anything for the last couple months, so somebody made a Fable book club in the group, and they're running it, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. So this is the book they picked for January, and I'm really excited for this. I've read 3 Lucinda Berries by now and loved all 3 of them, so I know this is going to be incredible. Just in case you don't know already, her books are so incredibly dark and gruesome, so if you can't stomach that, don't pick them up, but they are so good for what they are. But it almost feels I feel guilty saying that they're so good because they are incredibly dark, but I do love them. I feel bad saying it, but I do. Next up is The Balancing Act. I was sent this book by Forever, and I love Forever's book so much, so I have really high hopes for this. This is a finished copy. I think it came out in December, if I'm not mistaken, but I've heard good things about it. It's supposed to be a really cute, family-focused, I think, romance book. But I don't think romance is the central focus of it. I think the central focus is this mother and daughter who are regaining their relationship that they've lost over the years, and their family coming back together surrounding, I think, her brother's wedding potentially. I'll report back at the end of the month what this is fully about, but I believe that's what this is. Next up is The Last Thing You Told Me, which this is really funny because this book has been read by everybody and their mother by now. I haven't read this yet, and I honestly don't know anything about it. I've successfully heard 0 plot, spoilers at all for this. I have no idea what this book is about, and I'm choosing to go in blind, but I am finally reading this month. I'm reading this with one of the girls from the book retreat, and I'm excited. I'm nervous. I hear some people hate it, some people love it, so we'll see. I've been trying to read one Aardvark book club book each month so I can stay on top of my TBR from them, but the one that I'm going to read this month is The Fiction Writer. I love their books so much. If you haven't read an Aardvark book before, their books are so velvety, not velvety, they're matte soft. The covers of them feel so soft, including underneath the dust jacket, and they're always beautiful covers under the dust jacket. I love them so much. This is not sponsored. I do have a discount code though. If you use the code Bethany's Books, you can get your first box for $4 with free shipping. Again, not sponsored, but I really love their books so much. So this is the one I'm hoping to read. This one's about this ghostwriter who's writing for this really wealthy and famous man, but she's finding out really weird information about his family's like history, and so it sounds really interesting and twisty. I'm excited for it. This next stack of books are romance books that are books that I'm hoping to read before March for sure, but hopefully all in January. These are all authors that I'm meeting at a book event in March, and so I want to read their books before I go meet them so that I can like at least have read their works before I talk to them. The first author that's going to be there is Elle Kennedy. I've had this series, the Off-Campus series, on my TBR for months and months. Actually, I think since last January, so it's been a full year now. So it's like due time for me to read this. I have just barely started this at the time of filming this, so I'm liking it so far. It's really cute. I'm actually liking it way more than I thought it would, so I'm really excited, and I feel like this is a series that I'm probably going to just breeze through the entire series before March if I continue liking them this much, because this is really good. The next author is Lauren Asher, and so I'm hoping to read 2 of her books this month, the Fine Print and Terms and Condition. I think Fine Print's book 1, Fine Print's book 1 and Terms and Conditions book 2. These are part of the Dreamland Billionaire series, and if I'm correct, I think this is like a Disneyland type of like romance book. Like I think the main male character, his family like owns the equivalent of Disney, so I'm very intrigued. This will be my first like millionaire romance book, and I'm excited to read them. The next author that's going to be there that I've never read any of their books yet is Megan Quinn, so I'm hoping to read her book Vacation Wars. I've heard such good things about so many of her books. I only own 2 of hers so far, so I'm going to read this, and then if I really like it as much as I feel like I'm going to like it, then I might end up getting like a whole bunch more of her books so I can get them signed as well. But this looks like a really cute like beachy romance book, and I'm excited for it. This is like a sister's trip to Santorini goes wrong because one sister says the other sister it's time for her to actually find a love interest. It looks super cute. The next author is Elie Silver, my fiance's sister. This is like her favorite author right now. She is nonstop talking about how amazing these books are, and I'm so hesitant to read these because these are like country romance books, and I like really am not a country girly. I don't like anything country. So this looks like it will not be up my alley, but she's convinced that I'm going to like them anyways, so I am going to give this a try. I have very low expectations going in, so I feel like the chance that I at least like this more than I'm thinking I will is kind of high, because my thoughts going in is that I'm gonna like hate this book, so we'll see. I think I'm just being too critical, but I am very nervous for this, even though I know so many people love this. I'm just in my head, this is gonna be like pure cowboys and like country music. I don't know, we'll see. Next up is the first book in the Mind F series. I've heard such good things about this. This is the book series where it's a cop who's trying to hunt down a serial killer, and he's actually dating that serial killer, but he obviously doesn't know it. So it sounds like a super unique and interesting premise, and I can't wait to read it. I think I'm just going to read the first book in January and then probably read like 1 per month. So this is a full set of 5 books in this one like book binding, but I'm excited for these. Next up is The Hollow Dead by Darcy Coates. Now this is a tricky situation. I need to like for sure do my research here, but this is Gravekeeper book number 4. I don't have book 1 through 3, and I think, to my understanding, I can just jump into this book and be totally fine. I think. So I think these are like interconnected standalones. So we'll see if I end up for sure reading this. I need to do my research to make sure that's the case, but I do hope to read this because this looks like a really, really interesting dark thriller. So I am excited to read this. I hope I can just jump into this one. Next, another book that I've actually already started, His and Hers. I'm a little over halfway done this book. I've been buddy reading this since the end of December. I think like the 26th is when I started reading this, so this is good so far. I am very intrigued and like very curious who the murderer is going to end up being, because it's been like teasing it this whole time, so I'm definitely invested and I'm excited to see where this goes. The next arc that I'm hoping to read this month is The Curse of Penrith Hall. I know nothing about this. I'm kind of going in blind. This actually came out in December, so I'm a little late to the game on this one, but I've heard good things about it. I do want to still read it, even though I'm a little bit late, so hopefully in January. Another arc that I was unfortunately late for, this is Here in the Dark. This also came out in December, and this one's really short, so I think I'm definitely going to be able to breeze through this one. Another book that I'm actually currently reading, I'm currently reading like 5 books right now, don't judge me. This one's called My Name is Eden, was Eden. This comes out in February as well, and I'm really enjoying this so far. This is about this girl who pretty much like drowns, but she's able to be resuscitated, and when she is resuscitated, she starts saying that her name is no longer Eden. Her name is her dead like twin brother who died in the womb. So it's one of those situations where one twin like absorbed the other, and so after waking up from this coma, she is like fully convinced that she is that other person, and she's like acting different, talking different, like her whole personality has changed. It's like so unique and interesting, and I'm so invested and intrigued, and I like really need to know what happens, so I'm very early on in this book, but it's really good so far. The last arc that I'm hoping to read is The Guest by B.A. Paris. I was so excited to get this copy, so I absolutely will be reading this in January. This one comes out in February, on the 20th of February, so I have a little bit of time before it comes out, but I cannot wait for this. I love her book so much, so I know this is going to be amazing. These last 4 are all Book of the Month books. This first one is Wayward, and I feel like I have to read this in January because in 2023, this won the Goodreads Choice Awards for, I think, historical fiction was the category it won. So I feel like I have to read this. It's been on my TBR anyway, so the fact that it won means like this has to be amazing, right? This next one is a book that I've heard so many good things about. It's called Practical Magic, and I think this is a fantasy book, and I also think this is part of a series potentially, but I'm for sure going to try to read the first book this month. We'll see about the other books. And this will be my first book by this author, and I've heard really good things about her writing. So this has been on my TBR for quite a while, so it's about time I read it. This next one I have been putting off for so long. This is The Maidens, and this is the same author as The Silent Patient, and my issue is that I didn't like The Silent Patient, but I really liked his new book that just comes out in a couple weeks now called The Fury. So I'm like scared to read this because I really liked one of his books, really didn't like the other one, so I don't know. I'm scared that I'm not going to like this one, but I feel like I just need to read it and try it, and then I'll have read all of his books officially. And then lastly, we have this thriller called I Must Betray You. This is a young adult thriller. I know absolutely nothing about it, but I just decided to grab it off my shelf and try to read it this month. And that's my stack. I have quite a lot I'm trying to read in January, but I have been reading like a lot almost every month, so I feel like the 26 books is probably doable for me. I'm not really sure, but I will keep you guys updated, and I'll check back in at the end of the month with what I ended up reading.